Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, both folks in person and online. I hope that you can hear me properly from Montreal. So I'm Elisa Pannini. I'm a lecturer in human resource management at the University of Greenwich. Please tell me if I'm speaking too quickly for the interpretation. So I'm presenting today a paper that is mostly conceptual, but with some help from data on regulation of platform work in 3 countries. So first of all, just because I'm the first to present in this session on platform work, quick definition, Eurofound defined platforms are companies which match the supply of and demand for paid labor through an online platform. And platforms have also been called matchmakers, which shows how the focus on the core business is of facilitating the encounter of people offering or requesting services through the platform itself. Also, to make sure that we have the relevance of the phenomenon clear, these are some data from last year from platforms business in Europe. As you can see, the revenues are skyrocketing, but also the number of people actually involved in platform work is expected to reach 43 million by next year. Most people who work through platforms are genuinely self-employed, but there is also a substantial share of people who are estimated to be incorrectly classified as self-employed. It is not just about numbers. Platform companies also have a strong cultural influence on the world of work, on the way we think about working lives, and they tend to promote a hectic, fragmented work schedules. They glorify multitasking, overworking, and self-exploitation. So if you look at this picture here, it used to be across all tube stations in London just a couple of years ago, but there are plenty of examples in this direction. So what I do in the paper, I use Polanyi's double movement to analyze the disruption that the platform companies have brought to labor markets, and also the role of institutions to, on one side, mediate conflict, but also legitimize a new model of work. So Polanyi used the idea of double movement to describe a process that led to the development of capitalist societies as we know them. The idea is that there is a contrast, a tug of war, if you like, between different forces in society. There are forces that push or pull, if we want to keep the metaphor, towards marketization and laissez-faire, and forces resisting this. In between, there is a third actor that can influence the final balance in this fight. And Polanyi, while describing this process, also saw technology as a catalyst in this process. Oops, sorry. Ouch. Okay, that was too quick. So in the paper, I argue that the contested terrain in this double movement is the employment relationship as an institution and as the foundation of employment systems, of national employment systems, and of their distinctiveness. It is not new that employment systems equilibrium can be breakdown. If we look at Supio in 2001, in a period when we had a push towards flexibilization and deregulation of labor markets in Europe, he was already talking about this. However, I argue that the disruption brought by platform companies goes one step further than simple flexibilization and precarization, because it challenges the very centrality of the employment relationship in the world of work in favor of pure market dynamics. So in Polanyian terms, if we look at what Polanyi used to call movement, we see that he's talking about self-regulating markets and advancement of laissez-faire, free trade as a method for functioning of societies. And we can see how these can actually fit with what platform companies are doing to labor markets. And we can see that in the very structure of platform companies. We can look at them from a transaction costs perspective, where basically we see the extreme erasure of transaction costs as integral part of the business model of platforms. And basically, what these means for the employment relation is that while the traditional employment relation used to be a way of coordinating a myriad of short contracts, here it is the algorithm, it's the platform that function as a tool for coordinating, which means that this extreme erasure of transaction cost, it is both central to the functioning of the company and also pushes the employment relationship in a corner. Similarly, if you look at a resource-based view of these firms, we see that the key organizational capabilities are not related to the services being delivered, but just in the building and maintenance of the tech, the infrastructure, data management, while the tasks offered through the platforms usually do not require complex organizational knowledge. Again, they are often managed through algorithms, and this pushes away again the employment relationship and its centrality, because it is no longer necessary to stabilize those resources. So this is the movement towards laissez-faire and marketization. On the other hand, we have what Polanyi used to call counter-movement. So this is where workers push back in different ways. So we see that they are resisting this push towards laissez-faire and marketization in different ways. And these happens from a pure protection, a pure defense of their positions focused on coping, to actually challenging the very structure of the platform economy, challenging the employment status, and through employment tribunal cases and so on. So not going to go through all of them in the interest of time. And the other point is that in between those two movements, Polanyi identified the role of the state in reaching a compromise, but ultimately also legitimizing the rise of a new way of organizing the economy through capitalism. And here, as an example, and as a way of looking into different cases, I took 3 European countries in geographical sense, because there is the UK as well. This choice is mostly because this is aligned to Marsden Choice, who picked and focused on these countries in a theory of employment systems, where he made the case of the employment relationship as the basis of distinct national systems. So we can see that the reaction to the arrival of platform companies in different countries have been quite different. And while the French government welcomed platform companies very eagerly in official and unofficial ways, the German government had been a bit more skeptical from the beginning. And then these approaches have continued in time, France and Germany being part of the conversation around regulation at European level. They kept these positions for during all discussions. In terms of the legislation, so far countries have mostly relied on existing legislation to tackle the new phenomenon, despite these instruments are probably not adequate to regulate people's relationship with the platforms. And similarly, in employment tribunal and cases, sorry?
Oh, sorry, no.
Okay. So what I was saying, yes. So tribunal decisions, mostly around workers' classification, have also had conflicting results, often bringing the conversation to square one. So if we look at the UK, we had workers recognized worker status for drivers, for Uber drivers, and then the year after we have delivery riders defined as self-employed. So there is still quite a lot of uncertainty. Recently, the EU Platform Work Directive, which is going to impact France, Germany, and other countries, not the UK, but it is still relevant if we want to look at the broader picture. So it has been the result of a battle between countries with radically different positions on the matter. And the current situation, the current result is that, well, they tried to introduce some regulation around employment status and algorithmic management.
Two minutes. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes, thank you. This has a potential to introduce further protection and security for workers through a presumption of employment that can change their status and hence their level of protection. However, the directive also leaves to each member state the freedom to determine when these protections kick in. So on one side, this brings back the employment relationship in the discourse, but it also allows each country to basically eventually decide to what extent keep the employment relationship at the center of this regulation. So even if this can be seen as supporting the diversity within each system, leaving each country the freedom to decide, it can also be seen as an ultimate legitimization of platform work and its model that it's likely to keep pushing in the direction of laissez-faire marketization. So in conclusion, a new equilibrium has not been reached yet. The process is still ongoing, and the contribution I hope I've made today is towards an understanding of platform work as quite relevant in terms of disrupting the centrality of the employment relation and relationship in different national systems of employment. Thank you.